Hello everyone, my name is Lima Wei and I'm from Bachelor of Hospitality Management. So, have you ever walked into a crowded cafeteria during your lunch break? Look at a long queue and thought, how long am I to wait here? So, for university students, lunch breaks are usually limited. We need enough time to get our food, eat, and prepare for our next class. But sometimes a large part of that limited time is spent simply standing in a queue. So this makes us think about the one simple question. So what if we could make waiting smarter instead of simply making the queue shorter? So that was our idea, QBite coming in. So QBite is a smart cafeteria queue management application designed to help students manage their waiting time more efficiently. Instead of simply waiting in a physical queue, students can use QBite to check queue conditions, join a virtual queue, monitor their position, and receive notification. So our idea is simpler. Your client, your time, and your choice. First, let's look at the problem. At university cafeterias, especially during peak hours, students often face long queues, crowded food stalls, and limited break time. The problem is not only that the queue is long, the bigger problem is uncertainty. So students may not know how many people are ahead of them and how long they will need to wait, or whether another food stall has a shorter queue. So imagine having only 30 minutes for lunch but spending half of that time just waiting for food. This can create frustration and reduce the time students actually have to eat and rest. In some situations, it may even affect their punctuality and focus when they return to class. Therefore, the key problem is we need to identify is students have to wait without knowing how long they will actually need to wait. To solve the problem efficiently, we first needed to understand our users. Our primary users are university students, especially those between 18 and 25 years old who regularly use campus cafeterias. These students usually have limited break time between classes, so convenience and time efficiency are important to them. We also consider cafeteria vendors and staff as our secondary users. They are responsible for managing customer flow and cafeteria operations, especially during busy periods. To understand these users better, we use an online Google Forms survey to identify their needs, expectations, and difficulties when using cafeteria service. By looking at both student and cafeteria staff, we were able to understand the problem from two different perspectives. So students want to more convenient waiting experience, while cafeteria staff need a more manageable customer flow. So after we understand our users, we identify several important user needs. First, students want to save time and reduce the amount of time they spend physically waiting. So second, they want to see the current queue condition before choosing where to buy their food. Third, they want to know their estimated waiting time so they can make better decisions. So they also want to join a queue digitally instead of physically standing in line. So another important need is real-time notification, so they know when their turn is approaching. Finally, the system needs to be simpler and accessible through a device students already use every day, their smartphone. From these needs, we gain one important insight. Students don't just want a shorter queue, they want more control over their waiting time. Based on the user needs, we move into a defined stage of design thinking. We found that students value convenience and time efficiency, particularly during peak hours. They need real-time cure information and some form of waiting time prediction. So, however, we also realized that our solution should not become too complicated. If the system requires too much technology, expensive equipment, or complicated procedures, it may become difficult for cafeteria to implement. Therefore, we decided that our solution should be simpler, practical, manageable, and digitally supported. So this led us to our main design question. How might we reduce physical waiting while helping students manage their cafeteria time more efficiently? So this question became the foundation for developing QBite. And this brings us to our proposed solution, Meet QBite. QBite is a smart cafeteria cure management application designed to reduce physically waiting and improve the overall cafeteria experience. The application combines several key features. These include digital queue management, real-time queue information, QR code integration, waiting time prediction, and real-time notification. So instead of simply standing in a physical queue, students can use QBite to understand the current queue situation and decide how they want to manage their time. So the idea is not to completely remove waiting, but realistically, people still need to wait for their food. What QBite changes is how people wait. Instead of waiting physically, students can manage their waiting digitally. Now, let's go back to the problem we start with. A student walks into a crowded cafeteria during a short lunch break. Traditionally, the student sees a long queue and simply waits, but QBite changes that experience. Waiting becomes managing, crowding becomes organized flow, uncertainty becomes information, and the physical queue becomes a digital queue. QBite is not about completely eliminating waiting. It is about making waiting more flexible, more informed, and more manageable. Because waiting for food should not mean wasting your limited time. So, the next time you see a long cafeteria queue, don't just ask, "How long do I have to wait?" This is the idea behind QBite. So, your cure, your time, and your time. Don't just wait, QBite it. So, this is my presentation. Thank you.